Well, welcome everyone to Advocacy in Action, where we dive into the real-world strategies that power political engagement. I'm your host, Liz Byrd, and today I'm very excited to introduce you to my new series co-host, Brittney Hanks. Brittney is the Senior Director of Membership here at BIPAC. She's a huge asset to the team. She's going to be a huge asset to this series with her leadership and expertise. So, Brittney, welcome. I guess, do you want to introduce yourself maybe, and then what we're going to be chatting about today?
Definitely. Thanks, Liz. Yeah, I'm really excited to be here and to be having these conversations. I'm the director of our membership here at BIPAC, so I really focus on member recruitment and retention and creating content for all of our members throughout the year. So this is really timely to look at all the results of different surveys and things and talk through any trends that we're seeing, and we're going to discuss some actionable strategies that you can consider in your 2026 programming, which is going to be a critical midterm election year. So really exciting.
Yeah, and so each month, just for context, at BIPAC, we survey our membership through quick pulse surveys. And in Q3, we focused on getting a snapshot of how these programs are performing this year, with an emphasis on PAC and advocacy efforts. And I don't want to spoil our findings. So, Brittney, if you're ready, let's just dive right in. I have loads of questions for you.
Yeah,
So I
perfect.
guess starting off from one of our pulse surveys, what stood out the most to you about how PACs are performing right now?
Well, I think what really stood out was how resilient PAC programs are this year. Based on our July survey, nearly 80% of members reported that their PACs were ahead of or on track to meet their goals, which is really positive considering all the uncertainty that we've seen post-election. Only 20% said that they were behind goal, but even those organizations, they think that they're going to be able to recover. We're also seeing really encouraging signs around participation and retention. 60% reported no change from last year, and the rest are actually seeing growth, either through new contributors or increased giving amounts. So what that really tells me is that our members' consistent focus on engagement and communication is really paying off.
No, I love that. And I think that shows, I think something I've heard a lot this year, people saying like a buzzword is storytelling. So like we've talked about on this series before how like consistent storytelling is so important, but when employees like can understand why their participation matters and see that progress, like you said, it's building that lasting trust and momentum, and you can kind of see that with the data. So that's great to see. I guess, did you have any surprises with our advocacy check-in results compared to what we saw earlier this year?
Yeah, I think a pleasant surprise actually is how strong digital and peer-to-peer engagement have remained. So back in May, over 50% of our members said that they rely on online platforms and email as their top methods to mobilize advocates. At the same time, half of our members credited peer-to-peer communications as their most effective advocacy tactic, followed by leadership engagement. So compared to earlier in the year, when February and March surveys showed that limited resources were a top challenge, it's encouraging to see that members are adapting and they're using digital tools and internal networks to reach their employees and their stakeholders a little more efficiently.
Yeah, it looks like there's like a good balance. Like you're seeing that consistent digital outreach, but I think something that we continue to see is like human connection so important in this digital heavy world, and like seeing that people want to connect with people, and these tools and platforms are just that. They're tools that are help you like facilitating this. But I guess those like authentic voices are something we're always talking about, making sure people are like putting in their communications, and having it come from those trusted voices is like so important and really like drives it home.
Yes, I think authenticity is the main thing that people are looking for these days. Absolutely.
Definitely. I guess shifting gears a little bit, are there particular strategies or practices from high performing organizations that you've seen that others could be learning from?
Absolutely. So across the board, leadership-led solicitations and peer-to-peer outreach continue to be those standout tactics for success. So in July, 75% of members said that they're using peer-to-peer strategies, and about a third tied their campaigns to specific events or milestones, both of which help make the solicitations feel timely and feel more personal and back to that authentic feel that we were talking about. We also saw several members experimenting with charitable tie-ins and business unit competitions, which not only boost participation, but also strengthen the sense of community within their organizations. And these programs really show that creativity and connection are just as critical as the communication itself.
Yeah, no, I love that. And I think something else that ties back into that authenticity that I've heard recently is making sure you're like cutting down on like some of the jargon and that like high performing organizations that like I follow for like marketing and communications. Like it's always fun when you know what an acronym means and you're like on the inside and it's like inclusive and you like are in the know. But when you're on the outside of that, it's like can be a bit alienating or frustrating. And that's not how you want to make someone feel when they're opening up an email or thing. And that was a little reminder to myself. So I feel like that's just a little reminder I wanted to plug in and share here because it's easy to like forget that when that's just part of your daily vocabulary.
Absolutely.
Um, I guess another question for you is what do these survey findings tell us about the current state of engagement among employees and stakeholders that you've seen?
So the data really highlights a steady and dependable level of engagement, even in such a politically fatigued environment. So around 60% of our members said that political discouragement had a minimal impact on their programs this year, which is actually a complete flip from last year when most people felt that it was holding them back. So that really tells us that employees and stakeholders are still seeing value in being informed and engaged, especially when organizations focus on bipartisanship, education, and impact rather than the politics themselves. So the trust and credibility that employers have built, which we see ongoing in our trust studies, are continuing to sustain engagement at really healthy levels.
Yeah, I mean, like we've talked about, it's such a noisy like world. Like you're getting like opinions and news alerts from like everywhere. So like having your employers cut through that noise in this like climate, I think that's really important. And then kind of like how you said, like tone and framing are really important in how you're positioning that messaging. So I guess speaking of messaging and tone, how should people head into the final stretch of the year? Are there something that like pack managers should prioritize to have a strong finish in your experience?
Definitely. Yeah, I'd encourage pack managers to double down on leadership visibility and targeted communication. As we saw in our February survey, the top performing campaigns were those that combined strong leadership engagement with short strategic solicitation windows. Most of the time, that's going to be like 2 to 4 weeks long. This time of year is also a perfect opportunity to thank your contributors, share some impact stories, and then also preview what's ahead for 2026. Keeping the connection alive through updates, quick video messaging from executives, that can all go a long way in just closing out the year really successfully.
Yeah, I feel like the holidays are fun because you get to see the shift from like a lot of asking to a lot of like inspiring and building that like excitement towards like it's a new year, like we get to do all these new things, like be a part of it. Like, so I always enjoy like getting to kind of flip the messaging a little bit. I also feel like now something that I'm working on and just a good reminder to finish strong is start reviewing your templates and like language you're using now so that way you can hit the year running with all those things already done because it will save you a lot of time in the long run. That would be one of my like pieces of advice for people at the end of the year. I guess if you had one like don't miss piece of advice for government relation professionals, what would yours be?
Yeah, I mean, really staying on the same note as what you're thinking, just really plan for that momentum. With 2026 midterms just around the corner, now's really the time to align your PAC and advocacy strategies with your larger business goals.
Yeah.
Try to take a fresh look at your data, celebrate all your wins, start engaging your teams early around next year's priorities, and really above all, keep the messaging positive. I think our member success this year shows that when organizations focus on the education, the trust, nonpartisan engagement, employees really respond to that. I think that's the foundation that we all need to build heading into 2026.
Yeah, no, I love that. And that was a great wrap, a great piece of advice to close out our episode. It was great getting to have you on your very first episode of Advocacy in Action, and I know you'll be on plenty more. So thank you for taking the time to talk trends and tactics with me. It's one of my favorite episodes that we get to do. And for those watching or listening, if you like this episode, be sure to subscribe, share with your network, check out our other episodes. We've got a great library of on-demand content, and you can even consider sponsoring conversations like this one. So thank you, Brittney.
Thanks, Liz. This was fun and many more to come.